Fiction has always been community-centered. Trying to profit off of someone's derivative works kind of leaves that whole community aspect behind and actually starts moving into it's about me. Hello, my fellow bookworms and book dragons. Welcome back to my little nook, bookmarked by Brittany. If this is your first time here, my name is Brittany and I do commentary around books, reading, fan fiction, the stories we tell. If it has a narrative, it's fair game and I'm talking about it. So if that sounds like it's something you're interested in, then I would highly suggest go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's turn the page together. So where are my elder millennials at? I want to have like a staff like Gandalf and just like slam it on the ground and be like, elder millennials, come forth. I request your presence. Oh, no, here you are. So who remembers Quizilla? Even if you're an elder millennial and you don't know, Quizilla was a website that was used to build quizzes. Like, think of the most cheesiest quizzes and people were building them there. And I think about some of the cheesy quizzes you would see in like magazines, especially tween magazines or women magazines. I mean, people were creating quizzes like, who's your romantic partner in Harry Potter or things like that. I loved Quizilla, but people started using Quizilla to write fan fictions. And I'm not sure if it was because there wasn't a website to host it, like Archive of Your Own, but the way people built the fan fictions inside of Quizilla was kind of like a choose your own adventure. And I participated in them as well. Harry Potter was really hot during that time. So people were writing a lot of Harry Potter fan fictions. And that was really like back in middle school. I don't know if Quizilla's around. And if it is, I probably don't want to go back and read any of my fan fictions. I would probably cringe myself into my grave. But back then, we could only read fan fictions from our dial-up desktop, and we were fighting with the whole house to race to the seat and glue our eyes to the screen to read our fan fictions. Or if you were a person that participated in writing fan fictions, you're fighting for the desktop to be able to write your fan fictions as well. We all took really great pride in writing our fan fictions and sharing it with our community. It was a way for us to keep the fandom alive outside of the books and even the movies. Now, fast forward to the present day, you know I'm still reading fan fictions in my 30s because, hello, some of my favorite fandoms are still pumping out some awesome fan fiction. And I would even say probably better than what I was reading when I was in middle school. And then even better yet, we're able to read fan fictions laying down from the comfort of my couch. But whether it's reading from a desktop or your tablet, nothing really beats reading like from a physical book and turning each page with anticipation. Now, I remember when the Nook was first released and people were all up in arms shouting how this was the end of books. Oh my gosh, technology has taken over. No. Oh, you know how people can be over dramatic, like I was just a minute ago? It's like, chill out. An e-reader obviously was not going to mark the end of books. Books are still here by popular demand because people love to read physical books for different reasons. They just love holding it. Now, if you haven't guessed it already, today we're talking about the trending fashion of fan fiction binding. It's gorgeous, it's personal, and yes, it's not without its controversy, as I'm sure you've heard. So we're going to unpack the ethical gray areas of fan fiction binding, especially when it comes to copyright, consent, and community values. So grab your favorite blanket, settle into your nook, and let's turn the page together. Chapter 1. What is fan fiction binding? Now, before we dive in, do me a favor, grab a book off of your shelf. Yes, any book will do. Go ahead, I'll wait. I have a few books here. I have Haruki Murakami. And side note, before we dive into what I'm going to ask you to do, have you held this book? I went to the bookstore a while back and I picked up this book because I saw, the physical copy there. I was like, yes, I need it. Anyways, I came back home and whenever I eventually went to go start my book, I picked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, what sorcery is this? Do you see how thick this book is? This book is so light for a hard copy thick book. I was like, whatever publisher or the publisher of this book, they're the ones that are putting the user's experience at the forefront, and other publishing houses need to step up. I can sit there and read this book and my hand is not cramping. If it falls on my face while I'm lying down, I'm not worried about like, oh my God. I mean, it's still gonna hurt, but it's not gonna hurt like the traditional thick book. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So you have your book, I have mine here. Now I want you to open it up. What do you see inside of the book? Yep. I'm sure if you're seeing like I am, there's pages upon pages upon pages. On the outside book, we have a cover. So maybe you have, if you have a used copy, you don't have the jacket on the book. But yeah, so how are these pages held together? Right, they're held together by some glue, some magical little glue. It's bounded. Now go ahead and grab another book, any book. I have a few books here. So I have Folk Tales of Eastern Europe I picked up recently on a lunch date with a friend. We went to the bookstore and I saw this. I love learning about different folk tales and stuff. This really piqued my interest. It was in the kids section. It's okay. I used to be a kindergarten teacher, so I love children's books. Anyway, side note, I'm digressing. So you have your second book. All right, what do you see about the book? Take a look at the cover, flip it over. Now I want you have your two books here. What do you like about each book? Just taking a look at it. Which one do you like more? What makes the book unique? Now, be honest, have you ever walked into a bookstore and just grabbed a book because the cover looked pretty? Trust me, I've done it as well. I'm guilty as charged in book dragons. I know you are too. No shade, no shade. So the whole idea of book binding isn't just for publishing houses. Recently, there's been an upsurge in people binding their own fan fictions, and these are some beautiful books that really put traditional publishing houses to shame. All right, so the first time I saw a fan-bound fan fiction was on Facebook, a Facebook group. Now, don't judge me. I'm on Facebook for the fan groups. Where are my fellow ratties at? If you know, you know. So the first fan-bound fiction I saw was Manacled, and yes, I know the controversy around all of that, but it was really gorgeous, and people were just praising what this fan had did and what they created. After that, I started seeing in other like book groups how people were binding different fan fictions and even just books and stories themselves, and they were absolutely gorgeous. Now, for some, binding fan fiction or binding books has become a hobby for themselves, much like those who wrote the fiction inside of those fan-bounded fictions. So fan fiction binding is exactly what it sounds like. It's taking a digital fan fiction and transforming it into a physical book, just like the ones we have here on our shelves, but a lot more gorgeous, if I'm to be honest. It's become a creative, tactile way to celebrate the stories we love, kind of literary scrapbooking for the digital age. No wonder it's taken off. So some binds are really beautiful and they look like collector's editions. And in many cases, that's exactly how fans treat them. Chapter 2, why do fans bind fan fiction? So why do fans go through the trouble of spending time and resources creating a cover for a fan fiction? Well, a part of it is experience. This is a hobby for a lot of people, and it's a way for them to put their own creative spin onto creating a bind for fan fiction. Reading from a physical book, it's a total different experience than reading from a screen. It's immersive, it's cozy, it's easier for the eyes, but there's more. For many fans, it's about preservation. Earlier, I talked about Quizilla and how we used to write fan fictions on there, and I'm sure there were other websites as well, but I haven't even checked since making this video prior to if Quizilla even exists. Because if Quizilla and other websites are no longer there, that means everyone's beautiful fan fiction is poof, it's gone, it's deleted. You'll never be able to access the fan fictions again. And maybe it's a good thing, because I don't know, I was in middle school, so I know it was great. But this is a way of archiving the fan fictions that we see online, because, yeah, like I mentioned, they can be deleted and, it's lost and gone in history. And I get the feeling my dad, he still has all of my old notebooks filled with my own fan fictions and stories I created from middle school to high school, even these little Harry Potter magazines I made. It's a way of preserving that history, a tiny archive of Britney history, if you can say. And of course, we cannot forget the best part. It's the aesthetic appeal. Those fan-bounded fictions that I saw online were absolutely gorgeous. People were able to put their own creative spin on how they would create a cover for their fan fiction. Some people just love seeing, their favorite stories up on a shelf. I remember whenever I was reading the Manacled fan fiction and how much I loved that. And I really wanted to I remember keeping the PDF or saving the PDF because I wanted to be able to come back and read it again. So it's kind of that same thing. We want to put our fan fiction right alongside some of our favorite books. And I know my book dragons out there. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. Chapter 3, the copyright conversation. So here's where it gets a little tricky. It's called copyright. Fan fiction lives in kind of a legal gray area. It's transformative, yes, but it's based on someone's intellectual property. That means printing and binding. It can cross some boundaries, especially when the moolah gets involved. Most fandoms have an unspoken rule. Fan fiction is okay as long as it's free. But once you start printing, selling, charging for materials, you risk violating copyright law in the United States. Now, I will say there is online discourse around this, but the information I'm presenting you is directly from the United States Copyright Office, which I will link in the description below. There's people's opinions and interpretations of the law, and then there's just blatant facts the court rules by. So even if your intentions are good, which most people's are, it doesn't always matter legally. There have been cases where authors have pursued legal action over their copyrighted work. Now, let's take a look at a copyright lawsuit by Warner Bros. Entertainment and J.K. Rowling. Now, I know there's controversy around J.K. Rowling. This video is not about her. It's about the fan fiction and copyright law. So hopefully we're all mature adults. We can keep the comments in this comment section focused on the message of this video. So they filed a lawsuit against rdr-books in October of 2007. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Warner Bros. Entertainment and J.K. Rowling, whether it's because you grew up with her Harry Potter stories or you follow her recent controversy. Now, maybe you haven't heard about RDR Books. RDR Books is an independent publishing company based in Michigan. So they were set to publish the Lexicon, an unauthorized guide to Harry Potter fiction and related materials. This guide was based entirely on J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. So unsurprisingly, Warner Brothers and Rowling were like, Yeah, hold up, and sued RDR Books under the Fair Use Act. The key question in this lawsuit was whether it was fair use for the defendant, RDR Books, to use aspects of a book series to create and distribute an encyclopedia-like guide for the series they plan to profit from. To quickly define fair use is a legal doctrine in the United States copyright law that allows limited use of copyrighted material without requiring permission from the rights holders under certain conditions. Now, the court applied the 4 fair use factors to determine whether RDR's lexicon falls under fair use. So the court applied 4 fair use factors and concluded that fair use did not apply. So factor 1, purpose and character of the use. While the lexicon had a transformative purpose as a reference guide, its use of the copyrighted material was not consistently transformative, weighing against fair use. The second factor, nature of the copyrighted work, the court found that the original Harry Potter works are highly creative, which favors protection and weighs against fair use. Factor 3, amount and substantiality of the portion of the work used. So the lexicon used more of the original works than what was reasonably necessary for its purpose, further weighing against fair use. So the final factor, factor 4, effect on the market, the lexicon posed potential harm to the market for Rowling's works, including her own planned encyclopedia, which also weighed against fair use. So the court ended up ruling that RDR Books' lexicon did not qualify as fair use and issued a permanent injunction preventing its publication in its original form. However, the court acknowledged that reference guides can be valuable and are encouraged, provided that they do not appropriate too much of the original work without adding sufficient new expression or meaning. This case serves as a significant example of how courts evaluate fair use, especially concerning derivative work, which is a work that's based on or derived from one or more already existing works as defined by the U.S. Copyright Office. Now, this is a high-level overview of this lawsuit. I will link all my resources in the description so that you can go ahead and learn a little bit more if you want to. So fan fictions are in this legal gray area, but lately they're moving into murky waters like RDR Books, even though they were not publishing a fan fiction. Authors and publishers, yes, including Rowling, for decades have looked away when it comes to fan fictions because they are generally harmless. Fan fictions are created for fans, by fans, and usually they stay within the community. Now, as we start introducing the idea of profiting off original derivative work, we begin to place fandom communities in jeopardy and turning those eyes that long avoided us towards us. Now, I'm not saying this is happening now, but when the water begins to ripple, we can see the looming tide ahead. Oh, hello there. This is future Brittany, past Brittany, totally deleted chapter 4 like a noob. So we're gonna have to start over again. Chapter 4, the ethics of it all. Now, even beyond the law, this is about ethics. Some authors don't mind if their work is published, some do. Let's remember how personal writing can actually be. Many writers will include notes like, please do not bind, or not for redistribution at the beginning of their fan fiction. That's not them being harsh, it's just them setting boundaries. And if we really love this community and the stories that we cherish, then we should actually respect those boundaries and listen to the author whenever they make a note. Chapter 5, How to Bind Ethically. So we've talked about why people bind fan fiction, and we talked about the legal gray area of that murky mix of pretty much copyright and community ethics. But now let's talk about the practical sides of things. How do you bind fan fiction ethically and responsibly? Because yes, it can be done, and there are communities out there that are already doing it. So step 1. Always ask for permission. That's kind of a given, right? If you want to bind a story, ask the author's permission. Some authors are totally fine with it, and other authors, not so much. Check the author's notes on the story. Some fan fiction will have it written as clear as day. Yes, you may print for personal use only, or please do not repost or bind this fan fiction. That's your cue. If the message is not clear, just go ahead and shoot them a polite message. It never hurts to ask. Think of it like borrowing a book from a friend. You wouldn't just take it without asking, right? Step 2, keep it personal. Fan binding should be used for personal use only. That means you're not selling the books for a profit, and you're not creating a fanfic Etsy shop to sell your fan fiction books. This isn't about monetization. This is about appreciation for the fan fiction and the community. Step 3, credit the author clearly. Inside your fanbound book, always include the author's name, the title of the fanfic, and the original source, and a note saying it's for personal use only. That way, if the book ever changes hands, people know exactly where it came from, who the author is, and that it's not for redistribution. Step 4, respect the story. Don't edit the content, don't remove disclaimers, and don't edit the author's voice or name from their work. That's part of the culture. Binding isn't about polishing the work to make it seem more professional. It's about preserving it as it was shared. Step 5, support the author. Send them a thank you note. I know we live in a digital age, but it really goes a long way whenever you show your appreciation for the author's work by sending them a thank you note. If you see they are publishing a new book or a new original work, show your support by purchasing their book. A little support goes a long way, and it reminds them that their words matter. Binding fan fiction ethically is really about community care. It's about honoring someone's creativity, not taking it. So yes, go ahead and make that beautiful fanbound fiction. Just make sure the person who wrote it would really appreciate seeing it there. If you want to learn more about the ethics of fan binding along with resources, there's a really great website I found called Fanbinding Community Guide. I will leave their link in the description below. I've also seen some great Reddit threads about ethical fan fiction binding, so explore Reddit at your own risk. Just kidding, Reddit isn't shady, just certain threads. Chapter 6, Closing Thoughts. So we've talked about the legal gray areas of fan fiction binding, and we talked about the ethics of binding fan fiction, and that it actually can be done ethically. But my closing thoughts are, nervous chuckle. Now, my closing thoughts are, we need to think about why we're binding fan fiction. I think one of my biggest concerns is that, one, if an author says that they do not want their fan fiction rebounded, we need to respect those boundaries. I think what I've seen online is a total lack and disregard for the authors and for copyright law here in the United States. Fan fiction has always been community-centered, and trying to profit off of someone's derivative works kind of leaves that whole community aspect behind and actually starts moving into it's about me. And I know I'm sure there's going to be people that come into the comments and totally disagree, and that's completely fine because everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And this is my own personal opinion. I think one thing that social media has done has allowed for us, to profit off of things, which is great, to turn a profit on something, if possible, people need to make a living. However, whenever we start disregarding authors and disregarding copyright law, I think we need to take a step back and refigure this out. So my hopes is that we can, continue this conversation in the comments below and really, kind of explore what it means to the community. I know there's people out there that have found a community to bind fan fiction. I know people are doing it for their own personal reasons and they love it. They're not doing it to try to make a profit off of something that is trending. So with that, let me know in the comments below. Have you bounded a fan fiction? No shade if you have. What's a fan fiction that you really love that you would love to see housed up on your shelf with your other books? So until we turn the next page, happy reading, my fellow bookworms and book dragons. Do 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 do.